Hello, everybody, and welcome to AM-1220 KHTS, your hometown station right here in Santa Clarita. And this is the Gazette Radio Hour with Doug and John. John, what's up, man?
Nothing, Doug. Hey,
yeah, what?
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
I was thinking about, I there's certain things about the show that I haven't gotten my way, and I'm thinking about shutting it down.
You just want to shut it down?
I am going to shut down the show until you cave to my demands.
Okay.
Really? That's all it took?
Well, isn't that all?
You are a conservative. Woo!
Isn't that what the Republicans are doing?
Well, is it? I don't understand this, Doug. Explain it to me.
John, I can't explain it to you. It makes me crazy.
You get... if there's so many things that are wrong with this, I thought that the Republicans would stand... That's why they got elected, to stand up and go, no, we don't want to do this anymore.
Right.
Okay, regardless of what this is, we don't want to do this anymore. And they're now afraid
that they're going to get blamed.
They're going to get blamed for a government shutdown.
And when the president or somebody says government shutdown, it's like the world's coming to an end. The sky is falling. The sky is falling.
Of course. How many people are out there on some sort of government assistance?
But do you realize the government assistance keeps going?
No way.
It doesn't stop. 85% of the government stays in place.
But wait a minute.
Functions normally. 85%.
I remember the last time we had a government shutdown, the school children trying to... Oh, no. It was the World War II veterans trying to go visit the World War II monument.
Our president stopped tours of the White House because he didn't want to pay the chaperones.
Yeah. Well, the really sad part about the World War II memorial, it's outside.
Yeah, so they went anyway.
You could still see it. It's like, we're going to shut down the Washington Monument. Well, you can't really go open it anymore.
Yeah.
Well, you couldn't.
And they closed the gate. And that was devastating. John, I don't understand. It gets me because the Republicans are going to cave on the debt ceiling because they wanted the debt ceiling needs to be raised again because we spent too much money again.
It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, Doug. And I can honestly say that you must have a very difficult time being a conservative. We're going to have to do a show on that one.
Yeah.
How come it's so hard to be a conservative nowadays? Because it seems like you're an uncaring jerk.
Yeah, I know. And the one guy Ted Cruz happens to be my favorite candidate, but besides that, he's the guy that's advocating a shutdown to get the change that needs to be changed, and everybody thinks he's Looney Tunes. So we're just going to go ahead and increase the debt and increase this and fund that. And
we got a big show today. A lot of people on. Yeah, we got a lot of people on. We're going to talk football. We're definitely going to talk football later.
Of course.
Because there's been some accusations. So anyway, you're listening to the Gazette Radio Hour with Doug and John on AM-1220 KHTS, Santa Clarita's hometown station. We're back after this.
We are back, everybody, on the Gazette Radio Hour with Doug and John on AM-1220 KHTS at Santa Clarita's hometown station.
Yeah, it's all you need to know to be in the know. Read the newspaper. Come on,
but
Doug,
hey, did you we have a guest coming on. We're trying to get a hold of him, but I really like Donald Trump's tax plan. I don't know if Donald Trump has the wherewithal to be president, but I liked his tax plan.
What? Cutting taxes?
Yes.
I'm not. I think there's an issue, and I go back and forth because I'm sitting there going, well, how fair is it to raise taxes on the rich? If I'm rich, why should I have to pay more than the poor?
Let me just say this.
I've got a hard time with that.
I agree. And I agree with you in that. But him lowering most folks that are listening to this show, and lowering corporate taxes, I think
those are two things that I think
could grease the wheels to get this economy going.
Those are two things that I think are huge. But at the same time, do you really think that's going to happen? I mean, I think what's going to happen is I think people are going to certainly see through Trump. He's been very good at not giving us specifics.
Yeah.
And
this is really the first specific he's given.
And it's okay.
And I'm not saying it's him. I'm just saying the plan. I love the plan.
It's an easy one. It's an easy one to do.
It is.
How hard is it to sit there and go, well, I'm going to run for president. I want to cut taxes.
But
most people would vote for me.
Did you see the jobs report today?
No, I did not.
Yes. Terrible.
No,
and the labor partition rate dropped even more.
Yeah, but you know something? We're going to Mars in 2030.
No, then you get stranded like Matt Damon did.
You know something? They said I read an article today. It was like, don't worry, Matt Damon. NASA couldn't even get you to Mars. What happened to me? That's the leadership that we kind of are missing in Washington. And I'm not going to just pick on the president. I'm not going to pick on the Republicans. I'm just going to say that galvanizing moment of before the end of the decade, we're going to send them in. People got behind that for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know how. I was probably 6. But I think it makes sense. I don't know. Do we have to take care of ourselves first?
Yeah.
Well, speaking of taking care of ourselves.
Ooh, good segue.
Yeah, I did that on purpose.
Everybody, we have Rick Ferrante on the line. Are you there, Rick?
I'm here. Thank you.
Rick is the president of Home Care Services Santa Clarita, which is an in-home care. They offer that service. Is that correct, Rick?
Yes, right here in Santa Clarita.
So, Rick, first thing I want to ask is how many people do you find that are unprepared and then a bad situation within the family occurs and all of a sudden they're thrust into having to provide care for their loved one, their elderly loved one?
Yeah, literally a vast majority of the calls that we take, and we take calls every day, is people that are in sort of crisis mode. So the way I always tell my folks here when we're training people here is basically the people that are calling you are asking, now what? That question, because they have absolutely no idea where to turn at this point. And, they maybe have some inkling of what, other people have done when they've had a loved one at home or had any of those situations where they need to have care or just anything along those lines, and maybe have an inkling of it. But, all of us are trained for our careers and what we do and, in our families, and then most are not prepared for, there's a situation where I have to take care of a senior or elder loved one, mom, dad, grandma, whoever.
Yeah.
And, just don't know where to turn.
Now, Rick, is most of the home care that you provide for elderly?
Yeah, it's mostly. I mean, there are times where people are, some other means of incapacitation or disease or something else, some illness. But
right.
95% of the people are seniors, and it's, it's either, after there's some kind of fall or some kind of incident, something, and they're discharged from the hospital, and now, from one day, everything is just normal, and then, 3 days later, you're discharged from the hospital, and okay, well, now what do we do?
Yeah.
Or, hey, I'm just starting to realize mom's slowing down, when really it's kind of a gradual thing, and then all of a sudden, you're there at, coming up on Thanksgiving now. At Thanksgiving, people are going to, hey, you know what? I was just here 2 months ago. All of a sudden, I'm realizing, something's, we need some help here. And while it's gradual, people just don't want to think about it. And then all of a sudden, that's when we get the call, like, okay, now what do I turn for anything? They're not just care, but
right. So obviously you'd recommend trying to plan ahead and contacting somebody like you when you first get an inkling of that. Yeah,
and it's tough. I mean, it's fun for us when we're, looking for a new car or looking for a TV and we shop, right? We know exactly what we're going to do and what we're going to get next. And we plan for a long time. But, look, it's not fun planning for, taking care of someone that you love because it's a tough situation. So it's the kind of thing we put off just like any of those things we all put off, and I'm just as guilty as anybody else. But yes, it is much easier when it's sort of a, hey, we're now at these, kind of early stages versus crisis.
All right. Folks, we're talking to Rick Ferrante, who is the president of Home Care Services Santa Clarita. Rick, one of the reasons I wanted to have you on is you wrote an article in the Santa Clarita Gazette a couple weeks ago, and the name of the article was A Caregiver's Guide to Understanding Alzheimer's. But, Rick, I got to tell you, some of it's a little frightening. The symptoms may become as simple as forgetting someone's name. But in the beginning...
Bob, I don't get that.
Yeah.
Okay, Harry.
Well, here,
it's not a laughing matter, but yeah.
It's not, and it is scary. There's so many elements that are scary about it. Just the numbers are just, just daunting. You just look at it, and this is not just for us or for you or for our community. It's the country. It's the world. And I mean, this is something that is really, really going to be a tremendous impact. I can't think of anybody that's not going to at some point be touched with this along the line somewhere. So yes, it is daunting. It is scary, and that's part of the problem here. So here's something that's really scary. It's a disease that is incurable. There's not,
right.
It is. There really isn't a whole lot of there's some treatments that seem to be, try to minimize symptoms and so on, but nothing that's hard and fast.
Yeah, and it's not preventable. That's the other thing.
Not.
It's genetic disposition, but it doesn't necessarily go along genetic lines.
There is a genetic component, but not always.
Yeah.
And it's not always one way or another. It doesn't mean you're going to for sure get it, nor does it mean that if you don't have that genetic gene, the APO, can't remember it now, but that you're not going to get it. I mean, it's just one. It's not for sure either way. But here's the thing, you guys. It is something that probably, at least right now, obviously support for research, awareness, support for people, for caregivers, and that's one of the reasons to kind of that article was to, kind of highlight the need for caregivers and recognition of the disease, et cetera. But all of that's important. But I'll tell you what, the one thing right now that's really important is to kind of get rid of the stigma and the fear out of our minds, even though it's tough, right? Because it is scary. And for those, either the senior themselves or family members, to start talking and start recognizing and start snapping out of that and saying, look, this is something that we need to go get diagnosed.
Exactly.
And we need to start to work with it, plan with it, get some help, call whoever you got to call, and then start getting some help in dealing with it, because it's not the kind of thing that if I just close my eyes, it's going to go away. It's any time that.
Hey, Rick, unfortunately, we're out of time. We had some technical difficulties cutting our time short, but tell the folks how they can get a hold of you, why they should call you, and what if they want to talk about anything. What would you recommend?
Well, why they should call us on any of these things, whether it's Alzheimer's or anything else, is when you're asking that question of now what? I don't know where to turn, and we can kind of point you in right directions, whether it's us or somebody else out there that we can point you. You can call or go to our website. The phone number is 800-808-4777, and the website is www.homecaresantaclarita.com.
All right, we're just scratching the surface here, Rick, so we definitely want to have you again, but we thank you for your time.
All right, appreciate it.
All right, it's Rick Ferrante, the president of Home Care Services, Santa Clarita, everybody. Thanks, Rick.
That's a little scary, Doug.
It sure is.
I mean, it's one of those things where you really have to start paying attention to what's going on. And the nice thing is that it does give you the ability to pre-plan.
Yes.
I mean, did you have anybody in your family with Alzheimer's?
Yeah, my mother, yeah.
Okay, so you know that it's...
But with my mom, it's really weird because she still remembers us.
Yeah.
She remembers our names, but her short-term memory, she doesn't remember what you said to her 30 seconds ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Just short-term?
Yeah.
That's strange. Is that... I don't know.
Yeah, when I asked the doctor, he said there's it manifests itself in different ways. But she won't remember what happened a half hour. She won't remember what she had for lunch today.
But she's still got her...
But she'll remember when I was a kid and some of the stuff I pulled.
That's a really long time ago.
Yeah, it is.
Jeez.
What are you trying to say?
Well, it's one of those things that always happens. I don't know about you, but it seems like there are times when I'm living the same day over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Like Groundhog Day, that movie. It's
Deja Vu
all over again, exactly. And that's exactly what's going on now.
Right.
Okay, I thought we were done. I thought we were done.
So did I. The CMEX thing, I think it's been about a month now. We're celebrating. We got this news release.
The news release. It's
the
Steve Knight on the air. It was awesome.
Yeah, it's done. We don't have to worry about it. Singing in the streets.
And then just when you thought it was safe, to go back into the mine.
Let's bring on the bearer of good news, our city advocate, Mr. Steve Petzel. You there, Steve?
Hey, Doug. It sounds like you suffer from premature celebration.
Oh, Steve.
Good one, Steve.
All right, see, this is John. All right, here's my question. I thought this was done. Wasn't it done? Wasn't it announced?
Well,
what was officially announced? Let's go back to the beginning. I thought it was officially announced that the Bureau of Land Management Land Management was taking away CMEX mine off the 14 just north of Soledad Canyon in that area.
Never to be seen again.
Never going to be seen again.
Well, that's true. Their letter indicated that they were going to cancel the contracts to CMEX for mining, but they'd really never described what their intentions for the property was. Now, if you actually look on page 12 of their letter to CMEX, I'm going to quote right now, the BLM is entrusted with the public interest of developing the sand and gravel and aggregate resources from the Soledad Canyon, and that duty compels the BLM to withdraw from the contract. It does not say that the BLM is not going to develop the aggregate resource. They're indicating that CMEX is not the party that they want to do it going forward.
Okay, so now we've got somebody else coming to the table? Because I still like my idea.
We don't know that for sure because as of this point, what happened is CMEX filed an appeal with the Bureau of Land Management. They have an appeals department, and that may be going onward for a long time. So we are unable to get a copy of the appeal either from the BLM or CMEX. BLM says that there is proprietary information contained in the documents.
I can see that.
And CMEX tells us to get a copy from the BLM. So we don't know exactly. We know the basis for the BLM canceling the contract, but we don't know the basis for the response of the appeal from CMEX.
And I guess they're not going to really let the city in on that process. There wouldn't be any need to.
Well, you know what? The city has been rather mum, if you'll notice, ever since the announcement of the cancellation. At none of the city council meetings that I've attended have you seen any of the city council people stand up and celebrate or shake their hands or raise the roof. I think that they don't know what's going to happen either now.
Yeah.
So
I blame Doug because he celebrated prematurely.
Well, yeah, we blame him for a lot of things.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, that behind the scenes, there are interests that are very concerned about cancellation, and those interests include aggregate users from around Los Angeles County, as well as those that may have a future interest within.
Hey, Steve, I want to interrupt you real quick. For our listeners, some of our listeners may not know what aggregate is. Can you describe it?
It's sand and gravel and rock.
And they use it for?
Everything. 43% of it is used in road construction and repair.
Right.
The rest of it is used for, like, building houses, like the Newhall Ranch project, the Lost Canyon project, the Mission Village project.
It's cement.
Look around you, and you see nothing but sand and gravel.
Right. So it is a necessary commodity.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
I think
for a growing economy.
So there's absolutely no way that they're going to allow the mine and then move the football team up here because we'll have a big hole and we can fill it with a stadium.
Well, they tried that in Irwindale, but it didn't work out so well.
I know, but we've got a running start up here. We need a football team. I think it's a great idea.
So
I should run for city council on that platform.
We have Steve Petzold, the community activist. Is that what you call yourself, Steve, a community activist? Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, at this point, watchdog, community watchdog.
Okay.
Watchdog.
All right, I'll try to remember that for next time.
How about guard dog? Can we do that?
You had also shared with me a letter that you had gotten from a professor from a university about the need for aggregate mining and how it really isn't that bad, and it's not going to pollute the air like everybody thinks it would, and it's not going to contribute to the traffic as badly as everybody thinks. Do you agree with that, gentleman?
Well, based on my review of his work, it seems to legitimate my view that a lot of the negative impact from the mine is greatly exaggerated.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why, largely because of the large ridge line that runs along Soledad Canyon that cuts it off from Santa Clarita.
Right.
So that ridge line, plus, as you might be aware or not aware, a lot of the aggregate that comes into our community now comes from the Little Rock area. And that rock is transported via truck down the 14 freeway into Santa Clarita and the San Fernando Valley already. So the net increase in trucks is going to be very small.
So, Steve, let me ask you, do you think that this was just a good sounding cry for people who wanted to get on the city council? And, the whole NIMBY, not in my backyard thing. We come out against that, and we completely don't pay attention to the whole dump that's coming in. Do you think it's just good?
We have a lot of issues coming in here, but I do believe that the city council as a whole has a propensity to exaggerate the negative implications for a project like this. And it extends from everything. Don't get me started. We had the billboard deal where they couldn't get the number of billboards coming down right. If you went to the recent vaping city council meeting, you saw vape compared to heroin and cocaine.
It's all smoke and mirrors. Yeah, see what I did there?
Anyways, ignore him, Steve. Go ahead.
He told me not to get him started. I was trying to get him to stop.
I was appalled at the recent presentation regarding vape by the city staffer who gave out supposed scientific information that said that vape really doesn't help people break nicotine habits on cigarettes, or that it may be as dangerous or worse than cigarettes. So I don't want to get away from the mine, but whatever issue it is, whether it's deep well injection, we saw the deep wells are going to cause giant earthquakes, and you wouldn't be able to file an earthquake insurance claim. And,
don't they?
All of those were rebutted.
So they have to go through this whole thing, and it's the politics of, hey, we're on the right side of you for this scandal type thing. I mean,
I believe so. I don't understand exactly why Congressman Knight did not go through a legislative process. It seemed to me that when he was running for office, he had a great idea. That's in quotes.
You're referring to CMEX?
Yeah, the CMEX. It was the swap, right?
Yeah, we're moving back to CMEX now. That he was going to have the 14 freeway declared like a national defense asset, so that would preclude having trucks on the road that could block traffic in case of national emergency.
And then that allowed the Bureau of Land Management to swap out that contract land for some other contract land, like north of Victorville, right?
And I think that's why the BLM objected. The BLM their ostensible purpose is to help develop resource that's held on national lands. So they were going to swap out the BLM contract in Soledad Canyon for some land in Victorville and fallow both of them. And then what has never really come out is that the city of Santa Clarita was expected to make up the difference between the value of the contract and the shortage of the land. By Bob Keller's own estimate, that could have been by $12 to $20 million coming out of the general fund of Santa Clarita.
But we'd have no big hole in the ground.
Los Angeles or the state of California buying into that. We aren't the only ones that would benefit from it. In fact, it's estimated that only 200 residents live within a 2-mile radius of the Soledad Mine Canyon.
All right, Steve, we're up against the break. So what you're telling me is this is not going away.
Oh, absolutely not.
No.
All right.
More complex. But I think that Steve Knight should begin a parallel legislative process to break it out of this bureaucratic morass.
All right, community watchdog Steve Petzold, everybody. Thanks for your time, Steve.
All right. Thanks, Steve. All right, you listen to the Gazette Radio Hour with Doug and John on AM-1220 KHTS, Santa Cruz Home South Station. We'll back after this.